Welcome back to Mobility Insider. I'm Morten Handersbo. Our channel remains unsponsored. All of the views and conclusions are based on me having had a 35-year career in automotive. Today we're going to talk about the 2025 Porsche Panamera here in the GTS version. The first generation Panamera came in 2009, and Porsche had figured out after the big success of the Cayenne, the Porsche brand could span a lot wider than just the Porsche 911 sports cars, and they wanted to tap into the very lucrative sports saloon segment where the Panamera is playing. Porsche used to have the Porsche 928, but the production stopped in 1995. And actually the Porsche 928 was just a two-door, very large sports coupe and not really an executive limousine. So Porsche had been out of this market for about 15 years when they launched the Panamera. The first generation was the Series 970. And I had my first Panamera 4S in 2012. And I had a few more Panameras in the coming years, including a Panamera Turbo in 2018. So I know the Porsche Panamera lineup quite well. Now this is the 2025 version, of course in the third generation, upgraded with new powertrain and many other features. I've driven about 600 kilometers in this Panamera GTS, including a long trip through Switzerland, mainly on highway. There are very few cars that are as convincing and stylish and comfortable as the Panamera is on a long trip like this one. Half of the trip was during the night, and I was really impressed by the Matrix headlamps that give you stunning visibility. So you have a few excellent cars like the Panamera. Of course, these are built for the long haul, for the long distance. So if I were to choose a car to drive from, say, Copenhagen to the southern tip of Spain, this would be an excellent choice. But you also have like the Mercedes S-Class, the Audi A8, or even a Range Rover would also be perfect for that 160, 70 kilometers per hour through Germany, going all the way through Europe. At a time like today where things are moving to electric powertrains, or at least hybrid powertrains, plug-in hybrids, this is a pretty old school thinking. It is the pinnacle of German engineering at the heart of the Panamera GTS. You have a pretty old school, but of course a very modern 4-liter V8 twin turbo engine. That gives an output of 500 horsepower and 660 Newton meter. The acceleration promised by Porsche is 0 to 100 in 3.8 seconds, and 0 to 200 happens in just 14.6 seconds. If I look at the Panamera range, I think the GTS is the sweet spot of the range. I don't think you need to buy the Turbo, which is either as a Turbo or Turbo S, which is a plug-in hybrid, so it's heavier. Of course, it has more power, but this car has plenty of power. And the smaller engines, the 2.9-liter V6 lower category engines of the Panamera, I think they don't really fit the car that well. So for me, the GTS is the sweet spot of the range. The GTS has an adaptive suspension, and that is very good and is also fairly comfortable, but it is no match for the comfort level of, say, a Mercedes S-Class or an Audi A8. This is also a very large car. It's 505 centimeters in the length and 194 centimeters in the width, excluding the mirrors. Where the car excels for the size of the vehicle is its relatively low weight. It only weighs 2,223 kilos, which is a lightweight in this segment actually. But now let's step inside the GTS and I'll take you for a ride in the vehicle and tell you a little bit more about how the car drives. But a couple of things I think you should know before buying the Panamera GTS is that the car is more sporty than other alternatives from Mercedes, BMW or Audi. The Panamera is a sporty limousine. It does give you that feeling that you're driving a sport car like a 911, and it also gives you a harder suspension. The noise level is slightly higher than you find in the other limousines, and the noise level is not because of the engine or the exhaust note, it's just the car has more tire noise, more wind noise, more sports car noise. A lot of people will like it, but some people may not like it. Porsche offers the Porsche InnoDrive system, which actually is quite okay and has a lot of functions, but it never gives you a comfortable drive. The lane assist is quite jerky, I would say, and very nervous. And the adaptive cruise control as well is like on-off, like if you press the brake and then the accelerator. It never gives you that comfortable drive. What I also dislike about the Panamera is the ability to read the speed signs. It is not very accurate. Sometimes it misreads them and even increases the speed to 20 or 40 kilometers more than is allowed where you're driving, and that can be quite expensive. So I can recognize these weaknesses in the driver assist system because I saw them and experienced them in the Taycan we drove just a few months ago. What you get with the Panamera GTS is one of the last remaining full-on V8 twin-turbo engines with raw power and a deep growl. When you listen to the engine, you just, cannot not like that sound. I know it's a dying breed in today's market, but it is nevertheless a fantastic experience. There's another thing I would like to highlight as a strength of the vehicle, and that's the seats you get in the Panamera. Yesterday I was sitting in this seat for about 6 hours going through Switzerland, and you step out of the car as it was just 15 minutes you were driving in the car. They are so comfortable, at least for my body size. In terms of pricing, this is an expensive car. The base price for the GTS starts at 210,950 Swiss francs. And if you add a few options like this car has, you very quickly get to about 250,000 Swiss francs. So before I get to the conclusion on my short test of the Panamera GTS, let me just give you a feel for how that engine sounds when we get around this corner, and I can accelerate a little bit. That brings me to the conclusion on the test of the Panamera GTS. I've driven about 600 kilometers in the car, and of course it is a wonderful car to drive. What it does exceptionally well are these long trips, hundreds of kilometers at a high speed. No one does a better job than the Panamera of that. It will never be the comfortable limousine comparing it with Mercedes S-Class or Audi A8, but it will more rather be something similar to a sports car fitting like the Porsche 911. So if that's what you want, then the Panamera possibly is for you. I've decided to give the Panamera 3.5 stars out of 4 possible. What it could do better would be to have better driver assist systems. Second thing is, the car is too expensive. This is an old school engine. The consumption is quite high. You'll have a high running cost of the car, but the feeling you get when you drive it is very unique, and a lot of people will really like the car. Thank you for watching Mobility Insider. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to comment in the section below, share the video and give us a like, and I'll see you in the next video.